My name is Chloe, and the love of my life is Ethan. We were friends for almost 7 years and in love for over 4. Ethan is my ideal partner, kind, attractive, and financially secure, thanks to a good job. He's been a diligent worker since he was 15 and regrets nothing. He is a true man who enjoys working hard to provide for his family. He grew up by the sea, while I grew up in the capital. We got married 2 years after meeting, just 1 month after we first experienced love, when I was 19. My parents supported us, but his family was not initially thrilled with our decision. They accused me of trapping him into marriage, even though I was a virgin and had no children. It's hard to see how they could view this as a trap. I also worked hard, starting at age 17 at a hotel reception desk. On the other hand, Ethan had previous relationships, maybe 2, but he only admits to 1. It's unclear why they blamed me for everything. Despite the initial accusations and some hostility, they eventually accepted me as their own, and we all found happiness in each other's company and trust. Ethan and I love each other, and we have been married for almost 4 years. We are all very happy. I cook and clean for him, and I strive to fulfill his every desire. In intimate moments, I never refuse, and we both find immeasurable happiness in each other. He is the man of my dreams in every way, and I wouldn't ask for anything more. This is where the complications begin. From the start, I worked at the hotel alongside a man named David. David, who is 32, is responsible for hotel maintenance and cleaning. Let me be clear right away, I have absolutely no romantic desire or attraction to David. David is simply a kind person who has been through difficult times. He had a wife who cheated on him and left, taking their son with her. A paternity test revealed that the son was not biologically his, exposing his wife's infidelity. David was in deep despair after this separation episode. He didn't want to go on living and even took time off, something he had never done in 13 years of working at the hotel, never missing a single day before this ordeal. I was very worried about my friend and colleague and wanted to support him. I started talking to him at work and insisted we have lunch together every day, alongside other colleagues in the staff room or outside at the tables to chat in the fresh air and sun. David felt he had lost his masculinity because of what his ex-wife did to him. He believes no woman will ever want him again, and this causes him immense suffering. I told David this was not the case at all. I firmly believe any woman would be lucky to have him as a partner. He is kind, gentle, a good provider, and a loving father to his son. I will share more about this part of the story later. The conversations with David over these weeks gave me an idea. I thought I could help him regain his sense of masculinity while also experimenting with intimacy with another man, something I had never done before, except with my beloved Ethan. This would help me resolve the question that had been lingering in my mind. I then decided when to approach Ethan with my decision and ask for his approval. After finishing dinner and clearing the table, I sat down with Ethan to discuss it. I shared my thoughts and proposition with him. In response, he burst out laughing and looked at me with a crazy, disbelieving smile. He thought I had made it all up. I assured him I wasn't joking and explained why I thought this could be the perfect solution for both David and me. I stressed that he had nothing to worry about. I had no desire or attraction to David. Ethan became very upset and stormed out, slamming the bedroom door. However, he didn't lock the door, and I knew what he wanted, for me to show my love and devotion. I took off all my clothes and entered the bedroom. He can never resist me, just as I can't resist him, even after 4 long years. I gave him everything he loves, and we fell asleep together in love and happiness, as always. I waited a day before raising the idea again. I asked him if he had thought about it and if he would give his blessing. He firmly stated no and warned that if I did it, he would file for divorce and cease all communication with me. I replied, okay, and sat down next to him to watch a movie. Eventually, I offered him a treat, and we spent the night together on the couch, still deeply loving each other. During this time, I noticed Ethan was distant and preoccupied, despite our intimate moments or the delicious meals I cooked. He often talked on the phone outside the apartment or in whispers in the guest room. My suspicions grew, but there was nothing concrete. Days passed, and Sunday arrived. After attending church, Ethan was heading to the coast for 4 days with his family. They had an annual fishing tradition during this time, which I had no problem with. I understood his need for male bonding to maintain his masculine qualities and strength. Before he left, I voiced my proposal one more time. Ethan seemed frustrated but replied, "Chloe, you are an adult, and I cannot force you to do anything. If you want to be with another man, I can't stop you. I have already stated my opinion on this matter." I hugged and kissed him and thanked him for his understanding, but he gave me a strange look before getting into his car and driving away. Before leaving, Ethan advised me to remember what he had told me. I told him I loved him and continued to send him affectionate messages and texts that evening. The next day at lunch, I met with David and shared my proposal with him. He was completely surprised and didn't expect it at all. Initially, he refused, stating he could not get involved with a married woman. I explained that my husband disagreed but permitted it, and that I was the one who wanted this. David pondered my offer all Monday evening, unable to sleep. When we met on Tuesday, he agreed, on the condition that both my husband and I were okay with it, emphasizing that there would be no emotional connection, only the physical act. I assured him I had no desire for him. He is a good man, but not someone I am even remotely attracted to. So on Tuesday evening, I went to David's house. It was a cozy little place, and we had intercourse, using protection and no kissing or intimate gestures, just the physical contact in the act itself. It seemed to quickly satisfy David. For me, it was simply a way to satisfy my curiosity. It was not a memorable experience and meant nothing to me beyond a checkmark on a list. That evening, I texted my beloved Ethan, reporting that everything went smoothly. I assured him that David's self-esteem was restored, and I had found the answer to my question. I emphasized that I would never be with another man, only him, my love, Ethan. It is important to understand that this was purely physical contact, with protection, devoid of any emotional connection or love, unlike the intimate moments I share with Ethan. Let me clarify this for everyone. I decided to write to Ethan because I was worried about his reaction, and he didn't reply that evening. I spent a sleepless night full of anxiety. Fortunately, the next morning he texted that he would return home on Saturday instead of Friday. Although I didn't like the thought of him being away for 2 more days, I appreciated his understanding regarding the proposed meeting and was grateful for his love. The next day, David and I had lunch together, and he expressed his gratitude for the encounter and for helping him restore his confidence and self-worth. He also shared that the court granted him 50% custody of his son, even though he is not the biological father. I was happy for him and explained that now that our goal was achieved, we didn't need to continue meeting separately for lunch or other activities. He thanked me, understood everything, and I believe he is not a deceitful person. All this time I continued to send affectionate messages and intimate photos to my dear Ethan. However, the connection on his boat was poor, so he responded rarely, mostly expressing his impatience to see me on Saturday. I was full of excitement and love, eagerly anticipating his return. But sadly, a painful turn in this story occurred on Friday. After a long day at work and buying his favorite sweets, I returned home and saw a shocking sight. My apartment was empty, and on the table were divorce papers along with a note. The note read, "Thank you and good luck and success with David," signed by my loving husband, Ethan. I was stunned, cried, and couldn't believe my eyes, knowing this decision was not made by him, but under the influence of his family's disapproval. Ethan would never voluntarily do such a thing. He took all the furniture, silverware, cups, glasses, and bedding, leaving only one set. Our king-sized bed was replaced with a small single bed, apparently from his nephew's room. He left me a small TV and a chair. Additionally, he took all the kitchen appliances, leaving me only a pot and a pan. He even left paper plates, plastic cutlery, paper cups, and essentials like toilet paper and paper towels. All I had left were my clothes, toiletries, and cosmetics. I tried to call Ethan but found that he had blocked my number. When I contacted his mom and sister, I found that they had also blocked me. The same was true for his father and brother. It became obvious that Ethan had consulted with a lawyer while he was away or in the guest room. It seems he started this process soon after I shared my proposal, which looks like a deceptive move. I cannot believe what is happening. I then read the letter attached to the divorce settlement, which instructed me to conduct all correspondence and conversations through the lawyer without direct contact with my husband. This brought me to tears. Eventually, I decided to call the lawyer to understand what was happening and how I could survive. I explained that I could not afford to pay for the apartment myself. The lawyer informed me that Ethan had paid the rent, including utilities, for the remaining 3 months on our lease. However, I would have to pay for video services, internet and mobile communication myself. The lawyer also mentioned that Ethan would terminate the lease after it expired. If I wanted to stay, I would have to renew it with the landlord. I don't know how I will manage to stay when I can barely afford it. Is this how a man treats the love of his life and the woman who gave him everything? From love in its various forms to cooking, cleaning, and running every errand. Ethan only ever had to ask, and he got everything he wanted. Now I am at my breaking point. I couldn't sleep that night, and the next day I decided to look for Ethan at his workplace. I was informed that he had found a job on the coast and specifically requested to work in that area. He is an experienced concrete worker, one of the best, especially for someone so young. I asked the foreman to tell him that I was here and that I loved him, and he said he would pass it on. I am crushed with grief. It is simply unbearable, as if I am experiencing death and loss. I told my friend and colleague everything, and she couldn't believe my actions. It was she who initially suggested the idea. When I asked her about it, she said, "Yes, I mentioned it, but I never thought you would actually do it. It was just silly girl talk." The next day, I took the bus to the seaside town, as I don't drive. I went to the home of his mother and father to tell them how deeply and eternally I love Ethan. They were kind, but Ethan's mother told me he didn't want to see me anymore and advised me never to contact him again. I said I couldn't do that because he is my whole world. Ethan worked 100 kilometers away, and his family didn't offer for me to stay with them, so I had to take the bus back to my empty apartment. I cried the whole way and continued to cry all night. I even had to take a day off work the next day to recover. Now I need your help with my question. How do I win back my husband's love and fix this misunderstanding? Please, I am not looking for judgment or criticism, as I have already received them in abundance in a previous post, without any useful advice or action. All I need are practical steps to bring back my man, the love of my life, because I cannot go on living like this. I will be very grateful for your help. Update 1. Let me answer some questions from this group. Yes, I believe in God and the sanctity of marriage. Do you know that I did not cheat on my loving husband and would never do such a thing? It's outrageous even to suggest it. Yes, I consider myself a good girl. How many 24-year-old women do you know who have only been with one man and had only one other instance with a condom? I can answer for you. None, unless maybe a nun. No, I have no intention of having any relationship with David other than a working one. There is no attraction or desire. What I did for him came from the kindness of my heart. I am proud that I helped him, and ultimately it is for God to judge me, not any of you. Do I know I will never be with another man in the future? Maybe you should ask these questions to your significant other. Why not? Because you don't want to hear the truth. No, I did not humiliate or insult Ethan. You don't know my husband, so you can't judge his masculinity. I know he is more masculine than anyone here. No, I did not tell my parents or other family members about this situation, but I am sure they would be proud of their daughter for doing the right and selfless thing and helping people. No, I have no interest in having sex with a condom with anyone else in this group. Many of you seem to have more messed up views. Update 2. Well, I have to make another update, and it's quite a sad situation. A whole month has passed since I have been without my husband. I feel completely devastated and heartbroken. I have desperately tried to contact him but received no response. I even called him from other people's phones and left heartfelt messages, but he seems to track his calls and didn't respond to any of them, despite me pouring my heart out to him. I even went so far as to ask David to call Ethan and leave him a message, thanking him for his kindness and for how he saved David from a life of suffering. David told Ethan that he considers him a great man and will forever be indebted to him for his action, stressing that there was no love or interest between me and him. We are just colleagues. However, Ethan did not react to this at all. I decided to tell my parents and brother about the divorce, but their reaction was not what I expected at all. They are very angry with me and don't see my good deed, focusing only on the perceived infidelity. No matter how much I tried to convince them that it was not cheating but a selfless act, they turned away from me in disgust. They even suggested I go to confession every day for the next year. I believe that ultimately it is for God to judge me, not the people on this earth, including my own family. Final update. Alright, I wasn't planning on coming back to this problematic post, but some kind people asked for an update, so here it is. If only I could block all those mean-spirited people in the comments. Anyway, let me tell you about my current situation. I am now living in our community hostel because the lease on my apartment expired, and I don't have the financial means to afford rent in the capital. It's not a bad place, but it's only a temporary solution. I could have stayed with my parents, but I chose not to, as they don't understand my point of view. Now, about the divorce. It is officially finalized. This might be the fastest divorce in our country's history, which seems to be my style. But at least I have my faith in God to sustain me. The judge turned out to be quite traditional and seemed to have little respect for women in the modern world. He viewed my proposition as nothing more than adultery and ignored the fact that I helped David regain his life. He simply stated, "You can call it whatever you want, but it is adultery and a violation of your vows." I tried to explain that my husband gave me permission, but when he asked my husband and his lawyer, they both denied it, saying, "No, Your Honor, he did not." Ethan said to Chloe, "You are an adult, and I can't forbid you from anything." He then added that he had previously warned Chloe that he would divorce her if she did it. The judge turned to me, and I consulted with my lawyer, who told me to agree that this was a truthful statement. The judge continued to ask, "So why did you commit adultery, knowing this?" My lawyer and I were caught off guard. My lawyer said that we did not need to answer that question because it was irrelevant to the outcome. He then granted Ethan's petition for divorce, officially dissolving the marriage. As part of the ruling, he awarded me a sum equivalent to about $7,000, which Ethan was to pay within 90 days. Can you believe it? Only €6,000 for 4 years of various forms of intimacy, cooking, cleaning, running errands, and caring for this man when he was sick. If I had been working these jobs instead, it would have amounted to more than €2,000. Do I think I should have gotten half? No, I don't. However, only getting €6,000. Come on, people. Why aren't women valued more for their valuable contributions to a marriage? Can people in the comment section answer this question for me? This is my last post here because I won't continue arguing with unkind people in the comment section. I am simply exhausted, and you are all unpleasant people. Instead, I am going to put all my time and energy into winning Ethan back. Over the next year, I have left him a message on his phone, informing him that I will not date for at least a year, maybe ever, as I will patiently await his return. I told him he can come to my new apartment any time for any kind of affection, and I gave him my new address. I believe that one day I will hear a knock at the door, and there will be my beloved Ethan, eager to hug and kiss me, and hopefully, with many children and daily affections. Merry Christmas to all, and may God's blessings be upon everyone, even those who do not love me or themselves. John's story. The unbearable truth. Well, that was a fun story. Now let's move on to another compelling tale. Stay tuned and let's begin. This incident happened over 5 years ago, and I am still not fully recovered emotionally. At the time, I, John, was 31, and my girlfriend, Lisa, was 29. We had a loving, monogamous relationship for 3 years or so, I thought. We met at a cocktail party at a local art museum. Ironically, neither of us was a modern art enthusiast, but we were both there with friends, and we immediately hit it off. We started dating casually and soon decided to commit exclusively to each other because our connection was undeniable. About a year into the relationship, Lisa raised the topic of moving in together as she wanted to take our relationship to the next level. I initially hesitated, saying I wasn't quite ready for that step, so we continued to live separately but spent at least 6 nights a week together. And our love for each other continued to grow stronger. Over the next year, I got down on one knee, and Lisa happily exclaimed, "Yes, yes, yes, I'll marry you, John." We were both ecstatic. I suggested having a civil ceremony at the courthouse the following month and then hosting a reception after the baby was born, and she enthusiastically agreed. The wedding date was set, but just a few days before the ceremony, our little one had other plans, and Lisa went into labor. We rushed to the hospital at 4 a.m., and by 9 a.m., she had delivered a healthy baby boy. I was by Lisa's side in the delivery room, assisting with the birth. Although the delivery was relatively smooth, I immediately noticed that the baby did not look like me. He had dark blue-black hair, swarthy skin, and resembled a Latino. Both Lisa and I, as well as our relatives, have Northern European, light hair and fair skin. Neither of our families has Latin American roots. When the baby was placed in Lisa's arms, I glanced at her face, and despite her attempts to appear calm, I sensed her shock at the baby's appearance. My heart pounded furiously, but I managed to maintain my composure, pretending everything was normal. Lisa wanted me to hold the baby, which I did, and tears welled up in my eyes. I held the infant, feeling immense sadness, knowing he was not my biological child. Despite my emotions, I handed him back to Lisa and said I would go and tell our parents the joyful news. I went out to the waiting room and informed them of the news. They all went inside to see Lisa and the baby, and I explained that I needed to walk around a bit to calm my nerves after all the excitement. I headed to a small park by the stream that ran through the hospital grounds, and there I completely broke down in tears. I felt like my world had collapsed. I knew I was losing both my future wife and the child I had so hoped for that day. I spent about 30 minutes crying my heart out, and then my phone rang. It was my mother. She asked how I was feeling, and I replied, "Okay, I guess." Then she said, "Son, I understand why you left." I confessed, "Mom, the baby is not mine." Her response was comforting. "Son, I know, and I will support you whatever decision you make." With this reassurance, I composed myself, went to the restroom to freshen up, and returned to the room. When I returned, only Lisa, her parents, and my mother remained. The baby had been taken to the nursery, and Lisa was understandably exhausted from the delivery. I suggested that we all give Lisa some much-needed rest. As we left the room, Lisa asked if I could stay with her, but I gently replied, "Sweetheart, you need to rest, no talking." We all went to the cafeteria and spent a few hours there while Lisa rested. Returning upstairs, I let her parents visit her first. After about half an hour with her, they reported that Lisa wanted me to be with her, so I went to comfort her. Lisa began to speak, expressing her joy, and asked if I was happy too. I assured her that I was very glad that both she and the baby were healthy. Concerned, she noted, "You seem distant. Is something wrong?" I replied, "We need to talk." She asked, "About what?" To which I replied, "About the baby." That's when I said, "Lisa, the baby is clearly not mine." She reacted defensively, claiming, "He is your child. Whose else could he be?" I countered by saying, "You tell me." She burst into tears, and I let her cry for what felt like an eternity, but was actually closer to 10 minutes. When she calmed down, I asked her about the baby's father. She confessed, "You are the father." I didn't accept this and insisted, "Lisa, please don't lie to me." She fell silent, staring straight ahead. Finally, she broke the silence, saying, "I'm sorry, John, I was unfaithful, but I want you to be the baby's father." I ignored her plea and repeated my question, "Who is the father?" Reluctantly, she admitted that her ex, whom she had been with for over 5 years, had visited town 8 months ago, and they had a fling in our apartment. I got up and walked over to the window, looking at the traffic below. Lisa anxiously asked if our relationship was over. I said it was over, as I could not imagine ever trusting her again. She burst into tears, begging me for another chance, but I firmly stated that it was impossible. I insisted that she immediately inform our parents about the situation. Lisa begged me not to tell them. I told her, "Lisa, you need to do this now because you are not coming back to our apartment when you and the baby are discharged tomorrow." In tears, she pleaded with me again, but I just repeated, "No," and walked out to call our parents. When we entered the room, Lisa's father noticed her tear-stained face and asked what was wrong. I asked everyone to sit down, which they did. Then I told Lisa, "Tell them what we just discussed." Overcome with emotion, she broke down in tears and couldn't speak. I explained the situation to our parents, and all three of them began to cry, with Lisa's parents sobbing uncontrollably. I then informed Lisa's parents that when she was discharged the next day, she would go home with them, and I would arrange to transport all her personal belongings and the nursery we had prepared to their home. Throughout this conversation, Lisa continued to cry uncontrollably. I then turned to my mother and said, "Mum, let's go." In response, Lisa screamed, "John, please don't leave me. I love you and I'm so sorry." With those words, we walked out the door, leaving her parents to comfort her. As we drove away from the hospital, Lisa called and pleaded, "Please, John, don't end our relationship like this." I replied, "Lisa, I didn't end our relationship, you did." I continued, "The trust we shared is forever broken, and the person I knew and loved is no longer there." Despite her continued pleas, I remained silent, finally telling her that I had nothing more to say before hanging up. The next morning, her father arrived with his van, and we loaded all of Lisa's belongings and the baby furniture into the back. I drove with him to their house, helped unload the items, and set up the nursery in one of their spare bedrooms. I was devastated and remained silent throughout. Before leaving, Lisa's mother tearfully asked me to give her daughter another chance. I politely explained that it was impossible because I could never trust Lisa again, and could never love a child conceived through deception. Her father then drove me home, where I spent the next day in tears. Over the next week, Lisa tirelessly tried to contact me, making over 100 calls and sending numerous texts. She professed her love and begged for another chance. Initially, she seemed to understand my reluctance to marry her and become the father of her child. Instead, she suggested we continue dating as before. I decided not to respond, and eventually the messages stopped. Undoubtedly, this was the most difficult period of my life. Although I have no desire to be a part of Lisa's or her son's life, I am considering meeting him for a beer when he turns 21. I would like to express my gratitude for his early arrival, which spared me from marrying his mother and further complications in my life. My final piece of advice to all men: consider getting a prenatal paternity test for every pregnancy. It could save you a lot of time and long-term heartache.